Being a beginner in Warzone can be a challenge, so here is a loadout for beginners that will help you get higher kills and more wins. Hey guys, it's FourEyes or Dave here. Welcome back to another video and welcome back to the channel. Today we are taking a look at what I believe to be the best loadout for beginners in Warzone. Most videos on YouTube that go through meta loadouts at the moment are focusing on guns that require a little bit more practice to control and utilize effectively. So today's focus is going to be on a loadout which is better for beginners or potentially people who have taken a break from the game, just people who are looking for something that has a bit of ease of use while still being high quality. So if you do enjoy this video, then be sure to subscribe down below for more videos coming very soon from myself. Also, be sure to check out my Twitch channel where I stream Monday, Wednesday, and Friday UK time in the evenings. We play all sorts of games over there and have a good chit chat. Also, if you want to hear more of my chit chat, head over to my Twitter where I post day in, day out, all kinds of stuff related to gaming, streaming, content creation, and COD. So yeah, all links for that are down below. It'll be awesome to have some of you guys over there. Anyway, back to the video. So my criteria for today's loadout is focusing on a couple of key points. Number one, I'm looking at easy to use weapons. So weapons with lower recoil, fully auto weapons, so we have a bit more leniency in terms of missed shots. We want to give a gun to someone who potentially isn't as good at aiming off the bat and can still win some of those fights, even with a couple of missed bullets. Number two, the loadout is going to be covering all different ranges, different engagements, and different situations you get to in a game of Warzone. This way you can run this loadout in every single one of your games, learn it, get to feel how the guns feel, and overall become a flexible player in different situations. And point number three, which is a very important one, is that I don't want to compromise on the quality of a gun just to fulfill those first 2 points. So if a gun has low recoil and it's flexible and it's fairly easy to use, it still needs to have that damage to match up to the other kind of guns that you're going to be running into from other players in the game. You were not going to compromise on that, even for a new player. With all of that in mind, let's take a look at the loadout in detail. So, cracking this loadout open, we are running an M4A1 from Modern Warfare, an MP5 from Cold War, and the perks listed here along with the Semtex and the stun grenade. So let's go into this and explain my decisions here. Starting off with this M4. So, with our class for a beginner and for really anyone in Warzone at the moment, it's useful to have two guns running overkill to cover, as I said, all of those different engagements. So your M4 right now in this class is going to be your kind of medium to long range gun, and then you've got the MP5 to cover the short to medium range. Jumping into the M4, going through the attachments, we've got the monolithic suppressor, the stock M16 Grenadier, the VLK 3x optic, the Commando foregrip, and the 60 round mags. For any of you guys who have played Warzone before and know a decent amount who might be checking out this video, you'll understand all of this. But for the beginners, let's go through and explain each of these attachments in detail. Monolithic suppressor is the final suppressor you get on most guns in Modern Warfare, and it gives you sound suppression and damage range at the expense of a bit of aim down sight speed and a bit of aim walking steadiness. Aim walking steadiness is not too important of a con. The aim down sight speed doesn't matter too much because we're pairing this with a much quicker gun to cover some of those situations where you need to get a quick aim down sight to challenge enemies who push up close to you. But sound suppression in Warzone is massive because it keeps you off the map. It keeps you covert in a lot of your fights so you don't get as easily third-partied by other people. And the damage range is just a lovely buff when we're using this gun at range to take down enemies. Next up, we've got the stock M16 Grenadier barrel. This and the Corvus Custom Marksman are very, very similar barrels. You'll see they give the exact same pros and cons that listed, but the actual underlying stats are different. And I find that the stock M16 Grenadier gives you better recoil control, makes the gun a bit slower, but as I said, this is our long-range gun that we're using to beam people at range with a solid amount of damage. So the stock M16 Grenadier barrel gives you that damage range, the bullet velocity, so your bullets snap a bit more, and improved recoil control to make this gun a bit of a laser. Next up, the VLK 3x optic. By far the most utilized scope in the game, basically. The VLK 3x optic actually gives you recoil improvements, which it's not meant to, but it does. It just beams the gun straight towards where you're aiming for, and there really is no other better optic to be running on most of the Modern Warfare guns for range. So VLK 3x optic is definitely what we're going for here. If you check out the reticle, come in here, you can get some nice reticles in here. I actually still don't have a lot of these unlocked because I just haven't been trying to grind to unlock them. But the starting reticle is very nice. It's very, very clean. And then a lot of people also like the T-pose one that you can unlock. I've seen a lot of people using that, but I do not have it unlocked for this at the moment. So choose between either one of these two and you'll have a decent time aiming at distance. Heading back to the attachments, The underbarrel will be the commando foregrip, which lucky enough is the first foregrip you unlock, and it gives you recoil stabilization improvements. And recoil stabilization, in other words, in Cold War, in the new COD, they've actually broken down what this really means, and they've called it what it should be, which is horizontal recoil reduction. So recoil stabilization is for recoil horizontally being reduced, and if we go down, to example, to the Ranger foregrip and we see recoil control, that's your recoil upwards. So you get these two kinds of recoil when we're looking at these guns. And in most situations, we want to be reducing our horizontal recoil, because horizontal recoil is a random recoil left and right. And it's a lot harder to control than a straight kind of vertical recoil. We can just pull down on our mouse, or we can pull down on a stick if you're playing on controller, and we can counter vertical recoil. It's very hard to do the same for horizontal. So we limit that horizontal recoil by putting on the commando foregrip. A lot of words there. I know I kind of spewed a lot of stuff out there, but commando foregrip is definitely the way to go. Next up, for Warzone, we like increasing our mag size, especially if you're playing, trios or quads. If you're playing duos or even solos, you can potentially get away with not running one of these and running something like a rear grip or a stock if you want to just improve the gun's speed a little bit, or how fast you can strafe. But for most games, especially if you're playing with your friends, playing those trios or playing those quads, a 60 round mag is going to do you wonders, buffing that ammo size up and meaning that you don't have to reload as much. It does mean that you ADS a little bit slower and you move a little bit slower, but as I've said, this is not our gun for moving around and being quick, so just giving yourself those increased mag sizes is just always going to be a good idea. And that's our M4. Let's jump now into the MP5. Specifically, I've chosen the Cold War MP5, the Black Ops Cold War MP5. This will take a bit longer to rank up because the Cold War guns just naturally take longer. It's a bit annoying. If you want to run this class with a Modern Warfare MP5, I would say that it's a very close second to the Cold War MP5 in terms of what this gun is meant to be doing for us. So go check it out, but for now we're going to focus on the Cold War one. So, Agency Suppressor. This is essentially the same as your Monolithic Suppressor. Damage range and sound suppression. Don't need to go into this too much. It's an absolute beast on every gun in the game, and that's why we're running it. Task Force Barrel. There's been a lot of research at the moment into these barrels, and the Task Force Barrel, it says it gives you damage. It doesn't actually give you any just increased damage, but it does increase the effective damage range. It does give you better bullet velocity, and also importantly, it does actually help your recoil, even though it says it nerfs your recoil. It does actually help it a bit. I think it nerfs it potentially horizontally, but improves your vertical. It's one of the two. I can't remember exactly which way around it is, but this helps your gun shoot straighter and just overall improve the damage. It's a really good barrel on all the SMGs in the Cold War side of things, so Task Force is an easy option. Field Agent Grip is going to give us improved vertical and horizontal recoil, and it's a beast of an attachment. The Bruiser Grip, interestingly, even though it doesn't say it does also give you improved recoil control. I think it gives you better vertical recoil control than the Field Agent, but the Field Agent gives you that much better horizontal recoil control. And as I've already said, horizontal recoil control, especially when you're up close, is really important that you're not swaying off of a character. If a gun recoils horizontally, you're more likely to actually hit their head. And so you might actually do more damage because a gun vertically recoils. Bit of an out there thing to say, I know. But Field Agent Grip, it's going to take back some of that nerfed recoil control that you get from the Task Force Barrel, even though, as I said, the Task Force Barrel is actually improving your recoil. It helps this thing beam a lot more. For the ammunition, this is an absolute no-brainer right now. The Salvo 50 round fast mag is an incredible attachment. It gives you improved magazine ammo capacity, so you go up to a 50 round mag. You reload quicker, so it's like you've got that sleight of hand style thing going on where you can just reload a lot quicker and make this gun a lot quicker to maneuver with. It says it reduces your aim down sight time, but it doesn't. It says it does, but it doesn't. So imagine that con isn't there, and you've got all the pros, and there you go. You've got your MP5. It's incredible. For the last attachment, you can actually run one of two things. Right now, I've got the SAS Combat Stock on, which gives you shooting move speed and aim walking movement speed. I really like being able to strafe a lot when I'm in fights. If you want something that's a bit more vanilla to use, you can also use the Raider Stock, which improves your sprint to fire time, so you're just ready to shoot a bit quicker. But I found that I don't really need it on this gun. Its sprint to fire time is already good enough, and having that shooting movement speed means you just strafe across people's screens really, really quickly. Another option you could run instead instead of the stock is instead running the SWAT 5mm laser. What this does is make this gun an absolute hip-fire machine, so you don't even need to ADS. So potentially for beginners that could be good, but I know that actually, even though it sounds like an easier thing to do, many beginners would rather be able to aim down sights and play like that. So we will not run the laser sight at the moment and instead go for a gun where you can ADS and keep moving quickly as you're in these engagements. So there we go, we've got our 2 guns for our class. Moving down to the perks, we'll go through these very quickly in terms of meta at the moment. EOD is still probably the most meta thing you will see because it just gives you that reduced damage from non-kill streak explosives and fire. So all those Semtexes, C4s, Molotovs, just all that stuff that people are chucking at you and can just one-shot you. This just removes them from the game, essentially, where there needs to be a couple of them chucked at you to really blow you out of buildings and stuff. So EOD is still going to be very, very good. In terms of other options here, you could run double time if you want to be moving across the map a bit quicker. It doubles the duration of the tac sprint and means that you crouch move a lot quicker. Can be useful if you're playing really, really rushing, using that MP5 a lot, but EOD overall is just going to be better for you in most situations. For the second perk, we have to run Overkill in this because Overkill is going to be what allows you to run the 2 guns, so you can cover all different ranges. It will be useful to make a ghost class as well that you can swap to later on, but keep both your guns. So you pick up that loadout, your guns drop on the floor, and you pick back up your M4 and your MP5. I'll have another video coming out fairly soon on how best to make one of these ghost classes as a second one or as a loadout you might pick up later on in the game if you've just come back from the gulag. So for this, we definitely have to run Overkill. For perk 3, Amped has been the go-to forever, basically, because of the faster weapon swap. Being able to swap from your M4 to your MP5 that much quicker completely changes how fights go if you start getting rushed by enemies, or potentially the other way back, where there's someone ahead of you and you can get a good shot on them, but you're running with your MP5 and then you're trying to, lug this massive M4 out your back. It just doesn't really work. You need Amped to be able to really stay on top of people and be ready for any situation that comes at you. I think Battle Hardened over time will become more and more popular as stun grenades become more popular in Warzone, but right now, can't go wrong with Amped. So there we go. EOD, Overkill, Amped. And the final 2 parts of this loadout are the lethal and the tactical. So right now, Semtex is probably the most viable of the different explosives. It used to be C4, but they nerfed how far you can throw this thing, and right now Semtex, it's essentially just a grenade that you can land exactly where you want to. You can't cook it, so you can't do any plays of chucking it perfectly through a window and then having it explode at the right time, but Semtex, you can stick vehicles, you can stick people, you can just stick walls near where people are going to be running. It's a very, very utility-focused explosive. It kills people, obviously, but it's very easy to use and provides a lot of utility to you. So Semtex is definitely my my thing that I would go for here. And finally, tactical. I've recently switched to stun grenade as someone who's playing the game quite a lot, and I think that it's honestly probably a better idea for beginners because beginners are more likely to chuck this stun grenade than to use the other option, which I still think is perfectly viable, and someone in your squad probably should run one, which is a heartbeat sensor in order to pick up enemies who don't have ghost and be able to get that info when you're moving in on buildings. But with the increased amount of people being able to get those ghost classes, heartbeat sensor becomes less and less useful as the game goes on, whereas a stun grenade will win you fights because not many people are running battle hardened, and the lowering of people's turning speed from a stun grenade means that you can stun them, run around them, and kill them, and they have absolutely no chance of killing you back. So yeah, it's an absolute beast. Run the stun grenade. And there we go. That's the whole class, the beginner loadout for Warzone right now. There'll be other people who will have different opinions on what the best guns for beginners are. There are definitely better guns in the game than the M4 and the MP5, I think. The MP5 is probably one of the best SMGs in the game, so it's hard to find guns that are better than this. A lot of people are sleeping on this right now. The M4, there's definitely guns that kill quicker than it. Things like the AMAX, things like the RAM, but things like the FFAR, but they're a lot harder to use, and you'll find new players trying to use these guns and really struggling to land a lot of shots with them. So I think the M4 is the perfect balance between a gun that shoots really damn straight, but also kills quickly. If you look at the charts I've got going in the background now, you'll see that the M4 is very, very competitive at the moment with a lot of other ARs in the game, so it's definitely worth a shot. Anyway, if you've enjoyed this video, as I said beforehand, please do like the video, subscribe for more videos coming very soon, and I will catch you guys in my next one. Bye-bye.